Marcus Bennett's world had been shattered in an instant, but prison was no place to crumble. The cold metal of the cell door slammed shut behind him, echoing like a final sentence that wasn't just about years, but about losing everything. The harsh fluorescent lights flickered overhead, the smell of stale concrete and despair filling every breath. Days blurred into nights. Faces passed by, some hostile, some indifferent, none truly seeing the young man who knew he was innocent. His body endured the bruises and threats, but his mind fought harder. Memories of his family, his mother's prayers, and his sister Angela's fierce determination kept him alive inside. Angela became his lifeline. She held on to hope when all seemed lost, diving into legal texts, reaching out to Innocence projects, rallying support in every corner she could find. With the help of Clara, a passionate lawyer with fire in her eyes, a sliver of light pierced the darkness. New DNA technology had advanced since Marcus's conviction, and tests on crime scene evidence could finally prove what everyone wanted to believe. Marcus was not the man they'd locked away, but the battle wasn't over. Courts hesitated. Prosecutors resisted. The system that condemned him moved slowly, weighed down by bureaucracy and pride. Every hearing was a test of endurance. Every delay a knife twisting in hopes. Yet, in the face of it all, Marcus never wavered. Letters from supporters arrived, voices from the outside echoing through prison walls. Stories of other exonerees fueled his spirit. Then came the breakthrough. Witnesses who had once lied out of fear or coercion recanted, admitting the truth. DNA results matched another man, a violent criminal known to law enforcement. The walls of Marcus's wrongful conviction began to crumble, but freedom was still out of reach. The legal fight had only just begun. As the court prepared to review his case, Marcus stood tall, a man tempered by injustice but unbroken, ready to reclaim the life stolen from him. This was no longer just his fight. It was a battle for every innocent voice silenced by a flawed system. To see how the courtroom drama unfolded, hit subscribe and keep watching. Marcus Bennett stepped into the courtroom that day with a quiet confidence forged in years of hardship and hope. The air was thick with anticipation, family, supporters, and skeptics all waiting to see if justice would finally prevail. The prosecution, still clinging to their original story, faced a wall of new evidence that couldn't be ignored. Forensic experts detailed how advanced DNA testing proved Marcus's innocence, matching crime scene samples to the real perpetrator. Witnesses took the stand again, this time speaking truth rather than fear, exposing the coercion and missteps that had condemned an innocent man. The judge listened intently as Marcus's lawyer, Clara, methodically dismantled the flawed case piece by piece, revealing a system more interested in quick convictions than truth. Marcus himself addressed the court, not just as a defendant, but as a man wronged, a symbol of perseverance. His voice was steady as he recounted the years lost and the unwavering belief that truth would come to light. Tension rose as the jury deliberated, the weight of their decision carrying the hopes of more than just one man. When they returned, the word "not guilty" echoed like thunder, shaking the walls of a system that had failed him. Tears, relief, and disbelief flooded the room as Marcus was declared free. But freedom was bittersweet. Outside, cameras flashed, voices clamored, but Marcus knew this was only the beginning. His fight to rebuild his life and transform the system that failed him had just begun. To witness the powerful aftermath and Marcus's mission for justice, subscribe and stay with us. Marcus Bennett's release was both a triumph and a challenge. Walking out of prison, the sunlight felt unfamiliar, like a world waiting to be rediscovered. Family embraces were bittersweet, a mixture of joy and the unspoken pain of years lost. The streets he once knew had changed, and so had he. But Marcus was determined not just to reclaim his life, but to change the lives of others trapped by injustice. His voice became a beacon for the wrongfully convicted, a call to confront systemic failures, rushed judgments, racial bias, and flawed forensics. He spoke at community forums, met with lawmakers, and shared his story to shed light on the shadows of the criminal justice system. The fight was far from over. Many still suffer behind bars, unheard and unseen. Marcus's journey was a reminder that justice is not perfect, but requires vigilance, courage, and compassion. His story urged society to see beyond prejudice, to value truth above convenience, and to remember that behind every case is a human life. As Marcus said in his speeches, Justice is more than punishment. It's about fairness, dignity, and second chances. Marcus Bennett stepped out of the prison gates, a free man, but the weight of his years behind bars settled heavily on his shoulders. The world he returned to was not the same world he had left. Streets buzzed with new faces and changing neighborhoods. Technology had leaped forward, and the quiet rhythms of his old life had been replaced with an unfamiliar, rapid pace. Yet Marcus was determined. Freedom was not the end, but the beginning. His first days were filled with meetings, counselors, legal advisors, and the small, tight-knit group who had fought tirelessly for his release. The Innocence Project lawyer, Clara, became more than just his attorney. She was a guide to the daunting maze of reintegration. Marcus struggled with the simplest things. A smartphone felt like a puzzle. Social media was a foreign language, and the sounds of the city overwhelmed his senses. But every challenge was met with fierce resolve. His family, especially his sister Angela, stood steadfast by his side. She had sacrificed years, fighting public officials, rallying community support, and keeping hope alive. The siblings spent hours talking about the future, planning ways Marcus could use his story to fight for those still trapped inside unjust walls. They knew his case was not isolated. It was a symptom of a broken system. Marcus threw himself into advocacy with a passion that surprised even him. He traveled across the state, speaking at universities, community centers, and legal symposiums. His voice, steady and sincere, echoed stories of wrongful convictions, coerced confessions, and the devastating ripple effects on families and communities. Justice isn't just about catching criminals, he'd say. It's about protecting the innocent. Crowds listened intently as he described the cold interrogation room, the crushing despair of false accusations, and the moment DNA evidence turned the tide in his favor. Despite his rising public profile, Marcus's personal life struggled to find footing. Years of separation had frayed relationships, especially with his wife, Lisa. They had married young, before the nightmare began, promising a life together filled with love and partnership. But prison had changed Marcus in ways neither fully understood. The letters they exchanged were few and fraught with distance, and the days he was inside became an unbridgeable gap. Reuniting with Lisa was both joyous and painful. Their first embrace was filled with tears, but also awkward silences that spoke volumes. The woman who greeted him was not the carefree girl he'd married. She was hardened by years of worry, loneliness, and the heavy burden of holding a family together. Marcus saw the toll his absence had taken, not just on her, but on their son, Elijah, who was just 10 and had grown up largely without a father. The days that followed were a test of patience and understanding. Marcus attended therapy sessions, both individually and with Lisa, trying to rebuild trust. He wanted to be the husband and father his family deserved, but the shadows of his past and the weight of his new role as a public figure complicated every step. Then came the twist that shattered the fragile peace. One evening, Marcus returned home after a speech in city. The house was quiet. Lisa was not there. Elijah was asleep. Marcus found a letter on the kitchen table, written in Lisa's handwriting. It was a confession that stunned him to his core. Lisa had been living a secret life during his incarceration. She had taken a job with a powerful real estate developer, someone Marcus knew had ties to corrupt officials. The money had helped her keep the household running, but it came at a cost. Lisa revealed she had been pressured to silence the truth about a cover-up that linked the developer to wrongful arrests, cases suspiciously similar to Marcus's. She feared for their safety and had chosen secrecy to protect her family. Marcus sat back, heart pounding. The betrayal cut deep. The woman who had stood by him in the public, I had been caught in a web of lies and fear behind closed doors. But his mind quickly shifted from anger to strategy. This wasn't just a personal wound. It was a key to unraveling a broader corruption that had ensnared so many innocent lives. Determined to confront the darkness, Marcus met with Clara and Angela. Together, they planned to expose the developer's corruption, protect Lisa, and fight for justice on a systemic level. It was a risky move. Powerful people were involved, and the stakes were higher than ever. The media caught wind of the scandal as Marcus courageously spoke out. Interviews, rallies, and legal battles followed. Marcus faced threats and intimidation, but his resolve only hardened. Through it all, Lisa stood by his side, confessing her fears and mistakes openly. and the couple began to rebuild their fractured bond. The twist transformed Marcus's fight from personal redemption to a crusade against corruption and injustice on a grander scale. His story became a beacon for others caught in the shadows, a reminder that justice requires relentless courage, truth, and the willingness to face even the hardest betrayals. Marcus's journey was far from over, but with every step, he carried the hope that no one else would suffer as he did, that the system could change, and that families torn apart by injustice could one day heal. Marcus Bennett's victory was not just a courtroom triumph. It was a testament to resilience, courage, and the unyielding power of truth. After exposing the deep corruption linking the real estate company to a web of wrongful arrests, including the twisted chains that had ensnared him, Marcus found himself at the center of a battle much larger than any single case. The fight began with painstaking investigations. With Clara's legal expertise and Angela's relentless tenacity, Marcus helped gather evidence that revealed how the company had colluded with corrupt officials to target vulnerable communities. They manipulated evictions, coerced false testimony, and even bribed law enforcement officers to silence dissent. The company's greed had left families homeless and ruined lives, with Marcus's own wrongful conviction standing as the most glaring symbol of their abuses. News outlets picked up the story, and public outcry surged. Marcus's courageous public appearances drew national attention, turning him into a symbol of justice reclaimed. His calm yet passionate speeches brought real faces to the headlines. Families still struggling, children displaced, and a community battered but unbroken. The legal battles were grueling. The real estate company threw every tactic into the ring. Delay, intimidation, smear campaigns. But Marcus and his team pressed on. Depositions, investigations, and court filings piled up, revealing layers of deceit. Marcus's personal story lent an unshakable credibility that no corporate defense could match. Then came the landmark trial. The courtroom was packed with journalists, activists, and victims ready to hear justice served. Clara's opening statements cut through the noise, painting a clear picture of systemic corruption and greed. Witnesses testified courageously, some revealing firsthand abuses, and others corroborating the coercion behind Marcus's wrongful conviction. Marcus himself took the stand, his voice steady as he recounted years lost but never surrendered. When the verdict finally came, it was a resounding victory. The court ruled against the company, awarding damages to Marcus and countless others. The decision sparked reforms, investigations, and renewed scrutiny of corrupt practices nationwide. For Marcus, the judgment was more than monetary. It was validation, a public acknowledgement of the truth he'd fought so hard to reveal. With the settlement, Marcus faced a new challenge, building a life from the ruins of the past. But this time, the resources were real, the future bright. He invested wisely, with the guidance of trusted advisors, launching a foundation dedicated to criminal justice reform and community rebuilding. The foundation funded legal aid programs, advocacy, and education, a beacon for others trapped in injustice. Marcus's career blossomed as he became a sought-after speaker, consultant, and advocate. Universities invited him to lecture on law, ethics, and systemic reform. Documentaries chronicled his journey, inspiring millions. Yet, amid the spotlight, Marcus remained grounded, committed to the family who had carried him through. The bond with Lisa, once fractured by fear and secrets, grew stronger than ever. Together, they rebuilt trust brick by brick. Counseling sessions, long talks, and shared goals transformed their relationship. Marcus watched his son Elijah grow, their connection deepening through shared experiences and open hearts. Their home became a sanctuary, filled with laughter, love, and the quiet moments that heal wounds. Marcus often reflected on how far they'd come, from despair to hope, from silence to voice. The scars remained, but they were now symbols of strength, reminders of battles won and lessons learned. Marcus Bennett's story was no longer just about one man wrongfully convicted. It was about the power of justice, the importance of family, and the relentless pursuit of truth. His victory over corruption was a beacon, proving that even the darkest nights can give way to dawn, and that with courage, resilience, and love, new chapters can be written. If this story moved you, share it. Help us keep the conversation alive. Because justice belongs to us all, and together we can make it better.